The 2016 MacBook Pro certainly stirred the pot when it came out 2 years ago, but has the stew turned out okay? It's hard to believe, but 2 years ago today, on October 27th, 2016, the Touch Bar MacBook Pro was announced. This device is certainly embroiled in controversy, both when it was released and today. First, the elephant in the room. Everyone who has ever heard about laptops has heard of the great dongling of 2016, when Apple went all in on Thunderbolt 3 and USB-C. The world ignited in outrage when the new MacBook Pros shipped with either 2 or 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports. It's been 2 years now, and even in that short time, USB-C has started to gain some traction. Granted, not to the same level as the MacBook Pro, but it is becoming more widespread. I, for one, don't really mind the interface. Now, don't get me wrong here, I'm not saying that I'm happy that Apple removed all the ports. It's more of a begrudging acceptance at this point. I've kind of grown accustomed to having dongles over the past 2 years, and it doesn't upset me as much as it used to. Beyond that, I think the main problem with the current generation of MacBook Pro is that it makes too many compromises. What is immediately apparent when you use one of these newer MacBook Pros is that Apple is targeting a very specific audience, an audience that prioritizes portability, style, and battery life over almost everything else about a workstation laptop. In pursuit of getting this thing to be as thin as possible, as light as possible, as attractive as possible, and with the best battery life, Apple has compromised some very, very important factors. So, for one, the graphics are nowhere near as good as they should be for a machine of this price point because Apple's trying to keep power usage down. They also sacrificed a lot in terms of repairability in order to make this thing as thin as possible, and in doing so they also compromised the cooling of the device. These are some very, very major compromises, and ones that you will encounter every single day. Setting all of that aside, let's run through the specs of my model. I have a custom build-to-order 15-inch MacBook Pro that I ordered to suit my needs at the time. I took the base model 15-inch with the 2.6 GHz processor, and I upgraded the storage to 1 TB because I needed to maximize my internal storage for Final Cut libraries and for dual booting Windows for gaming. To assist with gaming and really help out with my rendering and graphics production, I upgraded to the Radeon Pro 460 for its extra compute units and upgraded 4 GB of VRAM. Now before you laugh, the graphics on these things really aren't all that bad, and while I wish they were better, like you could find in a Surface Book, I was able to do some pretty decent gaming on this machine. So unfortunately I did remove the partition for Boot Camp a couple of months ago to devote all of the storage to Final Cut libraries, so I can't show you gaming on it right now, but I played Battlefield 1, GTA 5, and Rainbow Six Siege at 1200p at about 60 FPS on medium settings. The graphics cards honestly haven't improved too much since this model came out, so you're not missing too much if you opt for a 2016 over the 2018s with their almost identical Radeon Pro 560X. I do wish Apple would put some more beefy graphics in their laptops in the future, like the Surface Book, which comes with a GTX 1060 Max-Q, but the Radeon Pro series isn't really that bad. Where you do miss out is in CPU performance. My model has an i7-6700HQ, and it's pretty decent for most people, but it does struggle in Final Cut when editing 8-bit 4K footage, or just normal 4K footage. In Cinebench it scores about 650. Respectable, but not great. Intel's 8th gen chips have really boosted performance, and my Skylake i7 is now bested by even the U-Series i5s in 2018 MacBook Pro 13s. So I just wanted to jump in for a second here to talk about video editing on the 2016 MacBook Pro, because this entire video has been edited on this machine. And one of the things that allows me to do that, because this entire video was shot in 4K 8-bit 60 FPS, which is pretty beefy footage, But every time I import clips, basically what I do is I just transcode the media. So it takes a little bit of extra time, but it creates an optimized media that allows me to have some smooth playback here. So as you can see, video all plays back completely smooth, and it really doesn't lag at all. So for a timeline like mine, which has A-roll, B-roll, and then some text effects and some light keyframing, that's fine. It really only starts to get in your way when you start really layering stuff and having a lot of transitions, video effects, and keyframes all on top of each other. Then it starts to slow down a little bit, but for stuff like this, it's really fine. If you do plan on buying any of the recent MacBook Pros, you better pick the specs you want, because they ain't changing. Soldered RAM and SSDs mean that what you see is what you get forever. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I despise Apple's current attitude towards repair and upgradability, especially with the MacBook Pros, but it's not going to change whether you buy a 2016 or a 2018, so at this point it's kind of just something that we have to live with on these computers. Setting that aside, let's talk about this computer's performance. Under most circumstances, the machine stays quiet, cool, and relatively stable. The only time the fans really start ramping up is under decently heavy rendering or 4K exporting. Before I started editing in 8-bit 4K, I used this computer for every single video on my channel. During those edits, it was buttery smooth and whisper quiet. If 1080p video editing is your objective, I certainly recommend this computer. Make no mistake, this is still a laptop, and portability is key here, so the cooling isn't as effective as a thicker workstation laptop. Okay, moving along to user experience. One major advantage of this computer is its portability. The design of this MacBook, identical to its newer siblings, is one that I really like. I love the all-metal enclosure, and I love how thin and light these machines are. For the sacrifices you make in thermals and graphics, the MacBook Pros give you a lot of versatility, both in the form of stellar 9-ish hour battery and the impressive portability and build quality. If none of these things are important to you, you really have no business buying a MacBook Pro in the first place, when you could get an iMac or a PC workstation for much less money. There's different markets for different people. The MacBook Pro is portable because people who buy them want portability. If that's not important, don't buy one. For a lot of people, the MacBook Pro just makes sense. As I start to do more editing here in my studio, I'm starting to lean towards desktop video editing. But for pros and semi-pros on the move without a specific place that they want to sit and do work, a laptop like this makes a lot of sense. Oh, and I almost forgot about the Touch Bar. Very good reason for that. It's the most meh feature I've ever encountered on anything. Hyperbole aside, the extent of my enjoyment using the Touch Bar has been where I notice some shortcut has a little button, and I go, oh hey, that's nice, and then I move on. I certainly wouldn't buy this guy specifically for the Touch Bar, but it does have its uses. For word processing and note-taking, the ability to quickly access shortcuts like alignment and bold, underline, italics is pretty handy, and it does offer some nice navigational perks in Safari. All this has been hashed and rehashed in the past 2 years, but suffice to say it's not a groundbreaking reinvention of the laptop. Now, speaking of reinventions that aren't groundbreaking, but definitely are breaking, the butterfly keyboard. I've definitely had my beef with this keyboard, and that's a shame because I actually like it a lot. I really enjoy the typing feel and strong tactile clickiness of the large keycaps, but doggone it if this isn't the most temperamental keyboard ever made. Keen viewers may have noticed that my keyboard has the newer symbols on the Control and Option keys, the one that you'll find on a 2017 MacBook Pro. You're right. That's because I have had my keyboard replaced under Apple's quality program twice now. It's a real pain, but there are some things worth considering. So when you get your keyboard replaced, they replace the entire top case assembly. That includes the keyboard, the metal top case enclosure, the trackpad, the battery, and the touch bar itself. They're all considered one piece. Now, this isn't great from a repair standpoint, but seeing as these machines are covered under free replacements, you can score yourself a new keyboard and also get rid of some pesky scratches on the side of the device. Maybe you can get rid of that slightly worn out battery, get that nicely rejuvenated with a fresh brand new one. I don't know, it has its perks. And the program extends 4 years from the purchase date, so the oldest MacBook Pros are covered until about late October of 2020. Also, I can't confirm this yet, but rumor has it that you can get your 2016 Pro replaced with a brand new 2018 model after you've had 3 keyboard replacements. So that might be a nice carrot on the end of a stick for patient people. Okay, so how much do these things cost? Because when they came out, the price was definitely a big complaint. These guys usually run from about $1,400 to $2,000 or so for a 15-inch model, depending on specifications. And you can get the upgraded model with better graphics, processor, and 512GB storage for about $1,600 to $1,800. Honestly, that's not a terrible price. Sure, the processor is outdated and the graphics aren't fantastic, but you're getting the newest design, the possibility of a free upgrade to the newest model down the road, and more than capable hardware for portability and somewhat intense video editing. Honestly, at $1,700 or so, these machines offer pretty decent value for a 15-inch MacBook Pro. If you're looking at a 2018 13-inch MacBook Pro because of its quad cores, you should definitely give this computer a long, hard look, because the 2016 15 inches are going to cost about the same, give you very similar CPU performance, but throw in a bigger screen and dedicated graphics. It's definitely worth a look. So thank you guys for watching this video. I really enjoyed making it, and I've really enjoyed my time with this MacBook Pro over the past 2 years. Aside from those little reliability issues with the keyboard, this has been a fantastic device, and I've had really great service for it. But yeah, this computer has gotten me through pretty much my entire YouTube channel career. When I bought this machine, I had less than 500 subscribers, and it pretty much edited every video up to 25K. So it's been with me this whole time, and I'm really glad that it was. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, please consider following me on Twitter at LukeMiani, and don't forget to join my subreddit. The link is in the description below, and I will see you guys in the next video.